Alright, today we're going to be going over how to beat Al's truth ending in under 35 minutes. Before we start, I need to go over a couple things because of dorky rules and whatnot. First of all, obviously there's going to be spoilers for the truth ending. I mean, it's the title of the video and everything. I'd assume if you're here, you've already played through the truth ending, which brings me to my second disclaimer, which is the badge. If you don't have a truth badge for whatever reason and you're using this video as a walkthrough, you can skip the setup section and take the no macro clip route, which you'll see later. This is because the macro clip is technically exploiting, which I guess counts as cheating for the badge if you don't have it. Lastly, this guide is for a solo run. I don't run any multiplayer runs because I don't know anyone who plays this game. But if you do this in a public lobby for some reason, you can skip the setup section and take the no macro clip route. If you're in a private lobby and you already have the badge though, it doesn't really matter. It's really up to you to decide whether or not you want to use macros. Anyway, this guide will be split up into 4 parts, which will be setup, island, exit protocol, and ending sequence. This video is going to cover 2 slightly different routes, one without a macro clip and one with the macro clip. If you're still wondering what that is, it looks like this. Essentially, it's a combination of 2 different things, that being locking the game at 30 FPS and spamming an item swap. If you don't plan on using this clip for reasons I stated earlier or you just don't want to, you can skip this whole setup section using the timestamp on screen. Anyway, the first thing you'll need is an FPS capper. From what I've seen, most people use ROBLOX FPS Unlocker and Bandicam. They both work, but Bandicam also has a feature that allows you to toggle on the FPS cap. Next, you're going to need a macro that allows you to spam 1. There's plenty of different apps out there that allows you to script macros, but I know most people use auto hotkey. The link to all 3 in these apps will be in the description. Alright, moving on to the game. Before anything, I need to go through stuff that you have to keep in mind throughout the whole run. From the beginning all the way to artifact D, which is the 3rd artifact we get, you want to pick up any gun or night vision goggles along the way. As of right now, the gun's a requirement for artifact D, and night vision really helps with visibility. The first thing you want to do is leave the ship and head straight to the generators. Here you're going to want to power docks by inserting the fuse in the middle right of the box, and then go straight to the docks using this route on screen. Once you make it here, you want to start filling up a diving gear by clicking on the empty space. Make sure you click on it because if you walk up to it holding out the diving gear, it's really buggy and frustrating. Most of the time it just doesn't work. You can use the downtime here to search the docks for night vision goggles or a gun. You can either fill up the diving gear with 30% if you want to be quick, or 50% if you just want to play it safe. When you're ready, you can take the diving gear and leave, heading straight to the oasis. When you reach here, make sure you don't fail this jump. It's a bit harder than it looks, and it's actually easy to lose a lot of time here. If you aren't able to make it, you can just go ahead and swim to the waterfall instead. Once you make it here, you want to pass the waterfall and make it all the way around until you see this rocky ramp to the right with wooden beams above it. When you make it here, you want to stand in this specific spot and then jump onto the wooden beam. Credits to this person because this is where I found the skip from. This jump's actually pretty difficult and might take some practice. It's also the main reason why I grabbed night vision, as this is what it looks like without it. Once you make it up here, just continue forward and drop down to the left. Go ahead and activate artifact C. This will let you see every single item on the map, as well as the giant snake. It also passively regenerates your health, healing 1 HP per second. From here, you're going to want to drop down to the right and then head to the volcano. Alright, now that you have your first artifact activated, it's time to talk about this guy. Agent B6 is a constant threat that becomes active when an artifact is activated. For the most part though, you can literally just ignore him. He'll spawn in at a random time, making a ton of noise, and kill your FPS with his awesome electricity particles. He has the same movement speed as you and gets stuck on a lot of terrain. If the AI can't detect an easy path to the player, or it just gets stuck, the despawns, doing the same electricity animation as he disappears. If he does manage to catch up to you though, he'll bring you down to 1 health. If he catches you one more time after that, he'll grab and kill you. He has a tendency to spawn if a player stays within one area for a certain amount of time. This also causes him to sometimes spawn during the sleep cycle, which is kind of annoying. However, he can't damage you until the sleep transition is over, which means you gotta move right as you wake up. Generally, you can just ignore him and just don't look back. As long as you keep moving forward, you'll be fine. Alright, the volcano. First of all, I want to go over how the oxygen works in this game. I'm going to be representing the system with these 2 bars. The first bar will be the player's oxygen, while the second bar is oxygen from the diving gear. So, the player has around 50 units of oxygen. If this level reaches 0, you start to take 25 damage per second unless the player has another oxygen source like the diving gear or they leave the water. This is where your second bar comes in, your diving gear. Optimally, you want to equip your diving gear after using up your first bar of oxygen. This is because the first bar regenerates while the second bar doesn't. While the game is using the second bar, the first bar is disengaged and starts to regenerate, giving you extra oxygen. With this system in mind, you can take advantage of the regenerating oxygen by diving until you start drowning and then equipping your diving gear. Near the bottom of the volcano, you should have enough oxygen regenerated to unequip the diving gear again. As you head back up, you can do the same thing again, swimming up without diving gear until you start to take damage. This is another reason why Artifact C is pretty handy, because the passive regeneration can allow you to take 1 to 2 ticks of extra damage. The system is actually pretty simple once you get it down, but if you don't feel like learning it, you can just fill the diving gear halfway instead and just have it equipped the whole time. Now onto the volcano. The volcano has this annoying eruption cycle that occurs once every 1 minute and 10 seconds. The eruption lasts 10 seconds long and sends the player upward. If you're diving straight down, you'll still go down, although at a way slower rate, and you'll consume a lot of extra oxygen, depending on how deep you are. It's not all that bad though, because if it erupts while you're swimming up, you'll start to surface almost double the speed, which is faster unless you consume less oxygen. Be careful with the eruption though, because it can kill you if you don't manage your oxygen correctly. With Artifact C, you can see the next artifact at the bottom of the volcano. When you're diving down, you want to hug the wall closest to the artifact so you spend less time in the water. After grabbing it, you're just going to swim straight back up using the tips I mentioned earlier. After the volcano, there's 2 scenarios. You either have a gun or you don't. If you have a gun, you can head straight to the cave across the bridge and just go straight to the facility. I'll show the route now. If you don't have a gun, however, you're gonna have to detour into another cave entrance located in the lake, as that area has more item spawns. Here's what that'll look like. As you take this alternate route, be sure to look for guns near the entrance of the cave. And the Ape City ruins. Now at the facility, this is where the routing changes depending on whether or not you plan on using the macros. If you're in a public lobby, you don't have the badge, or you just don't want to use the macros, then skip to this timestamp. Otherwise, continue on. Drop twice down the stairs and enter the master bypass tool room. This is where your first clip happens. This one in particular is pretty lenient because of how thin the wall is. In my experience, clips work best while entering the wall at a perpendicular angle. You can do this by either looking straight at it while macroing or parallel to it. Turn on your macro and clip through. Drop down and walk past the laser room until you reach the end of the vents here, which you'll clip through next. This one's a little harder, but with a good angle you should be fine. There's also a high chance that a gun will spawn right in front of the door, so if you don't have one, then this is kind of your last hope. Once you're in, shoot the artifact D-glass and drop the gun as you don't need it anymore. Take the artifact and leave the room. Turn left and head towards the security room. Here you're going to do 2 back-to-back clips. Clip through this door, then clip through the left wall. Follow the path you see here and then drop. As you drop, turn around and head to the right side of this large rock thingy. Pass under it and then turn around. There's this large hole that actually leads straight to Monkey Land. Be careful where you drop though, because if you drop too low, you can't climb back up without a climbing tool. This will basically kill your run. You also have to be careful of the snake. The large circle is the snake's head. If you aren't wearing night vision, heat vision, or experimental goggles, he'll stun you if your camera comes in contact with his eyes at a close range. Once you're stunned, you're basically dead. The only possible way you can survive after that is if the AI bugs out, which in my experience is very unlikely. However, if you see that he isn't really near you, you don't really have to worry about him. Keep in mind that he can still kill you while you're wearing goggles, however you won't be stunned. Head up this tunnel and you'll find yourself at the top floor of Monkey Land. Make your way to the final artifact and then drop down. Alright, now I'll be explaining the alternate route that doesn't require the macro clipping. Head to this timestamp if you want to skip it. Drop twice down the stairs and grab this master bypass tool. Make sure you keep your gun. Pass to the laser room by climbing up the vents and then hack this door open. This puzzle is basically pure RNG and can be only beaten faster through practice. It's hard to explain how it works because it involves a lot of math, but over time you'll be able to consistently solve it in less than 1 minute unless you get really bad RNG. After solving it, the door will open and you can shoot the glass. Grab artifact D and then leave through the laser room. You'll have to climb up the vents and wait for the third laser to pass before the exit opens. Don't stand directly above the vent hatch as the third laser will kill you if you do. Exit the facility the way you came from and make your way to Monkey Land. If you're struggling to find Monkey Land, then you can search up the game's official wiki. Alright, here we are at Monkey Land. Go through the left path towards artifact B. Be careful not to fall off because it takes forever to get back up. You also have to be careful of the snake. The large circle is the snake's head. If you aren't wearing night vision, heat vision, or experimental goggles, he'll stun you if your camera comes in contact with his eyes at a close range. Once you're stunned, you're basically dead. The only possible way you can survive after that is if the AI bugs out, which in my experience is very unlikely. However, if you see that he isn't really near you, don't really have to worry about him. If he isn't near you or it looks like he's going away from you, you usually don't have to worry about him. Grab artifact B and then drop down. Alright, now that we have all the artifacts, we're going to be going straight to Ivory Lotus. If you've been in the game before, you should be familiar with the path, but I'll be going over it anyways. Turn around and enter this narrow crevice. If you have a climbing tool, you can climb through this hole and save around 7 seconds. At the end of the river, you're going to come across an intersection. Right there, you're going to take a left turn and then continue forward until the next turn. At the next intersection, you'll see a large opening to the left. Go that way and follow the path all the way to Ivory Lotus. At this point, you should have all artifacts activated and they'll all fly to the middle of the lotus when you're halfway up the stairs. Enter the beam and get ready for 3 minutes of cutscenes. Alright, this segment's pretty scary, not gonna lie, but don't panic. How this fight works is that you're on a platform. Weapons and enemies will spawn on the platform until you trigger the load at the end. The enemies spawn with a random weapon and 100 health. This whole fight plays like a flowchart. I'm going to be describing this fight in 2 phases that you'll hop back and forth between. Phase 1. You're going to cycle between a variety of weapons on the ground until you get either an LMG or a Gatling gun. If you get one of those, you'll transition to what I call phase 2. I'll be going over the guns. The sniper rifle, proton cannon, and energy lancer can kill enemies in 2 hits, but you have to drop them after 4 shots, as they'll be out of ammo. The scoped rifle is a 1-hit kill, but only has 1 shot, meaning you have to drop it right after the first kill. The shotguns are pretty miserable, but they drop often. The tactical shotgun is your best bet because of its range, but beware if it's 10 ammo count. The assault shotgun is actually pretty decent with an ammo count of 20, but don't rely on it over other guns. The double barrel 1-shots enemies but has a short range and 2 shots. The only pistol worth using is the revolver. It 2-shots enemies and has an ammo capacity of 6, which lets you kill 3 enemies before running out of ammo. This leaves you with 2 more weapons, those being the battle rifle and the submachine gun. The battle rifle is kind of just a worse version of the LMG and Gatling gun, at least for our purpose, but it does have quite a bit of ammo. It has enough ammo to kill at least 4 enemies. The SMG is really a temporary gun at best. It has a really unreliable spread and often causes you to get hit. There's plenty of better options. Phase 2. Now that you have a Gatling gun or LMG, you can sit in the middle and just click on enemies, watching for spotting items. You can hover your cursor over the gun in your inventory to check the ammo count, which is pretty useful. When you run out of ammo, the bar should be close to 100% depending on when you got the weapon. Without the LMG or Gatling gun, you revert back to phase 1, cycling between weapons until another LMG or Gatling gun spawns. There should be plenty of guns to choose from, and sometimes there's just another LMG or Gatling gun laying around. When the bar reaches 100%, a couple lines of text will play at the bottom and then a portal will open in the middle. When you touch the portal, the fight ends and everything freezes. This ends the exit protocol. Something I like to note is, at the beginning of the fight, it's very likely that an enemy will spawn before your artifacts even activate, which is set to a scripted timer. A lot of the times you'll see yourself getting hit right at the beginning, but once you have artifact A activated, you should be fine, as getting hit gives you around 15 to 20 seconds of invincibility. During this time, the enemies can't see you, but you can shoot them. You can also use this time to scavenge for other weapons. I also recommend doing this in third person with the camera zoomed out enough to see the whole platform. If you've played this before, you'll know this last part's pretty straightforward. However, there's 2 things I'd like to explain here. After this weird elevator thingy, there's this long bridge that takes a long time to fully extend. However, you can skip this and run straight to the unopened door, because for some reason the left of the door doesn't have collision. Next is the maze. For the first floor, just hug the left wall until you reach the stairs to the second floor. On the second floor, just turn right twice and then continue forward until you see the exit, as you see in this footage. From there, you're home free. Just run straight up the stairs until you trigger the ending cutscene where the run ends. Oh, that's all I have to cover for truth. I want to note that this guide was made during update 8 of Isles, so things may change in the future, but for most part this guide should hold its own for a while. It's a nice introduction for truth, as a lot of people find it daunting to attempt, but the only real way you can die is by drowning and losing the boss fight. If you're watching this without the intent of even speedrunning this game and you made it this far, then I applaud you for not picking just another popular guide or reading off the wiki, as that page has a lot left to desired. I apologize for my really stuttery commentary because I'm not used to making these short type of guides. This video is kind of a first for me. Anyway, I hope this helps one way or another.